This is the handover for the Lifestyle 644. We'll start off on the outside of the vehicle. Down on the offside, you've got two ventilation ports which are at the back of the fridge. Adjacent to that is your battery locker and mains hookup point. Unlocked with the key, and that exposes the battery and the connection point for your mains supply. Adjacent to that, you've got the exhaust port for the water heating system. You need to make sure that the travel cover, I usually keep these in the cab on the steering wheel as a reminder that if you want to use the water heater specifically on gas, you've got to take this cover off on the outside. So put your fingers up underneath, pop cover off, and away you go, and you can use the water heater on gas. Round on the back of the vehicle, you've got your bike rack. You've got two little plastic caps which you can undo, and this enables you to extend the upper support arm up. Alright, lock that into position, let the bottom rail drop down, and then you can attach your tops of your bikes, crossbars or seat posts using the top loops, and then through the wheel hubs secure them by releasing the red tabs. Alright, and support the wheel hubs in that way. You can still use a bike lock rack as well. The freshwater inlet is located on the near side. Using the smaller of the two keys, put that one in, twist, and twist again, and that releases your freshwater cap, like so. Hose pipe into the side. There's an overflow on the underside of the vehicle which will kick in when that tank is full. Up underneath the skirt, you've got the drain point for the wastewater. The drain point for the fresh water is up inside the tank, and we'll show that to you later on. Gas locker, press both buttons simultaneously, and that opens up to reveal a 6 kilogram propane cylinder. Always make sure that your gas supply is switched off on the brass nut whenever you are traveling. This version has its own gauge on it, so it can tell you how much gas there is on board. So turn the gas on by turning the knob on the top. That feeds through a regulator and into the core of your gas system. Left by the previous owner, you've got your mains lead and also a selection of toilet chemicals, which we'll come on to next. The toilet cassette itself, again opened from the outside using the smaller of the two keys, and that opens up like so. Split into two sections. At the top you have your flush water additive, so this is usually a pink solution. There's a green cap which is taken off at the top, and using the funnel which is provided, pour in using a watering can a mixture of pink and fresh water. As you're pouring that solution in, it fills up this inspection tube at the side. It's around about 7 or 8 litres or so in capacity. Dust cap goes back on. Winter storage, you can pull that tab away and pull down the top pipe, and that enables you then to drain that reservoir off for winter storage. Stops any chance of any solution being left within the system and freezing up. Directly below that you've got the main cassette. As long as the lever's shut inside, you should be able to draw the cassette out quite neatly. This generation you've got wheels on as well as a pull-out handle. On a campsite you extend the neck out You remove the green cap completely, and as you tip up to empty into the sluice, you press this green button at the top, and that allows then the waste to be ejected out of the bottom. Inside the top of the green cap, you have got a measuring cup up to a capful of your base chemical. Typically green is preferred, slightly safer to use. Mixed with about 2 litres of water, which you pour into here, and then that resets the cassette ready to be used again. Lift up and slide the whole cassette back in nice and firmly. Should lock back into position, ready for use. Also on the near side, you've got your fuel filler cap. Just pull the outer flap open. Use the ignition key this time, which folds. Right, ignition key in, hold the cap and twist, and then you can then remove your diesel filler cap. So, located at the end of the passenger dashboard, you've got your bonnet release. Underneath the floor, inside this inspection cover, is your engine battery, and underneath the passenger seat you have your vehicle toolkit. With the bonnet release open, that allows you then to open up. Over on the right hand side you've got your access port for jump starting the vehicle. So below that cover you can lift up, you can attach your positive jump lead. Your negative goes on to this little bolt at the front, saves you trying to access the engine battery underneath the passenger floor. Oil filler cap and dipstick are side by side, and then over on the left hand side you've got your radiator water, brake fluid, power steering fluid, and then right at the very back your screen washer. Last but by no means least, you've got your awning. To utilise the awning, put the hook through the eye like so, and make the handle into a crook shape, right, and then begin winding out by twisting the arm accordingly. When you get to a midpoint with the awning, you've got 2 legs secured up inside the front of the pelmet. Pull the ends out first of all, and then pull the leg out and let the leg swing through, and then let the leg down by undoing the winder so that the leg hits the floor. Repeat the process with the other leg at the other end, and then continue winding out to the fullest extension. It's about 2.5 meters in total. Because we're limited by the awning here, obviously we can't pull it out any further, but these are designed as sunshades. Or wet or windy conditions, they need to be put away. Putting away is a reverse of extending it out, so pull the leg back up into itself, swing the foot over, make sure that the foot is back against the pelmet like so, and then clip it all back into position nice and securely. Repeat at the other end, and then begin to wind the awning back in accordingly. The retracting step is controlled via a switch just inside the door, but it will also retract when the vehicle ignition is started. When you come inside the van, directly above the habitation door, you have your 12-volt control panel, and this is the distribution for the supply within the van. The power switch in the middle turns on your control panel. You'll see a couple of green lights come on, one indicating that you're using the leisure battery, another one indicating that we're connected to the main supply. When you press your view levels button, you will see the condition of your leisure battery, vehicle battery, fresh water and grey water supplies. The outside awning light can be turned on using this switch. You get an indicator light on there, and correspondingly you see your awning light turned on outside. Use your water pump on demand. Pump on, gives you a water level indication as well, and then when you go to your taps you should get the water supply coming through quite quickly. We'll talk about the water system in a little more detail later on. The master switch for the cabin lights is done from here, and from there on in you should be able to turn on all of your interior lights throughout the inside of the van. When you're driving from A to B, the alternator charges both batteries as you're driving along. Typically use your leisure battery when you are on site, but as an emergency resource you can opt and switch over and use the vehicle battery instead. Be careful though that you don't deplete the battery so much that you can't drive away. Good news is when you're plugged into the mains, if you choose the vehicle battery, it will charge the vehicle battery instead of the habitation battery. So if you haven't used the vehicle for a while and you've got concerns that the batteries have gotten weak, then you can top up the batteries in this way. Below the forward facing seat you have your mains RCD box and also your 12-volt fuses. There's a menu on the left hand side which shows you what fuses are related and also the position of the RCD switches. The illuminated lights are for the battery charger, the electric element for the space heater and the electric element for the water heater. They've got separate control switches in the back as well. You can turn on and turn off the main supply by shutting down or turning on these RCD switches. Also down in the front there you've got your battery charger as well, and also a solar panel regulator. For the operation of the gas hob you've got an electronic igniter down onto the front, so squeeze in with your gas burner, use the electronic igniter and it should fire up. There's no isolator on these lids, so make sure that the burners are cooled off. Don't try and draw the lid down back over the top of the burner. For the operation of the grill and the oven, remove any packaging that there might be around the grill tray, turn into anti-clockwise direction for the operation of the oven, and you should see it light up accordingly, and then you go in the opposite direction for the operation of the grill, and you can see the grill lit at the top of the screen. Located in the cupboard beneath the oven, you've got your individual isolator taps. Lighting restrictions in here make it difficult to see through the plain screen, but you've got individual taps there for the operation of the fire, for the fridge and for the oven. If the taps are turned through 90 degrees, then it isolates the supply to those individual units. Generally speaking, if you switched off at the bottle, that's sufficiently safe, but if you've got little fingers that might want to experiment or play with things, then you may feel safer having those items switched off underneath there. Located underneath the offside rear seats, you have your water heater, 10 litres or 2 gallons or so in capacity, operated by electric or gas. Remember, if you want to use it on gas, you've got to remove that plastic cover on the outside. Down in front of the water heater you have this small yellow tab. It's important for winter storage that yellow tab is lifted to the vertical position to allow the content of the water heater to drain out. If it's left full of water through the winter season, it may freeze up and also freeze the ancillary pipes around it and lead to further damage and problems. So extend the yellow tap to the vertical position and you can hear the water now descending outside of the vehicle. Doesn't matter which position it goes back into, away from you or towards you, as long as it's in the horizontal position to the floor, then you should be able to allow the water to pump through the system into the bottom of the water heater. Once it's heated up, you'll get hot water coming out through the pipes around the inside of the van. If the system's been drained down, then you will have to turn the taps to the hot position, and you'll have to wait for a continuous supply of cold water to come through the hot taps. Earlier on we heated this one up, so that's why you can see the steam rising now. If the system has been drained down, it'll take about 2 minutes or so for the water to be pumped from the main freshwater tank through to the kitchen sink. Once you've pumped the water through to the kitchen sink on the hot tap there, repeat the process with the vanity unit and with the shower to make sure you've got that continuity of supply. Down at the end of the bed box, you've got two similar looking switches for the operation of the water heater. The one at the top is for the gas operation, the one at the bottom is for the mains electric operation. For the gas, again, remove the plastic cover externally, rock the switch downwards, and you'll see that it moves towards the 70 centigrade mark. You'll hear a click from the water heater as it engages, and that will start to heat the water up to 70 degrees centigrade. It takes around about half an hour or so for that process to occur. If you've left the cover on externally, if you've not switched on the gas, or if you've run out of gas, you'll see a red light come on somewhere around about here, indicating that the system has failed and it's not going to work. If you don't want the water as hot, then you can heat the water up to 50 degrees by operating it in the opposite direction. Heat the water up first thing in the morning. All right, only need be on for about an hour or so. If you're not planning on using vast amounts of water, then I would leave it off through the rest of the day. There's no need to leave the system permanently switched on. Below that, you've got your electric element. Having plugged into the main supply and turned on the appropriate amber light underneath the forward facing bed box, you can heat the water up on a low wattage or a higher output wattage electric element, approximately 800 and 1200 watts respectively. All right. It takes around about the same kind of period of time for the water to heat up as it does on the gas. If you're desperate for hot water, however, you can use both systems concurrently, and that will speed up the process and the water heating time. So gas at the top, rock the switch in either direction, but make sure the cover switched off, removed out externally. For the electric side, a lower or a higher output, perhaps depending on the amperage that's available to you on the campsite. Underneath the near side bed box, you've got your fresh water tank. So it comes in on an inlet from outside via the filler cap. There's an inspection hatch on top of the tank, which you can open up for cleaning. Inside the tank, you will find a chain dangling down from the roof of the tank. If you pull up on that chain, it releases a plug at the bottom of the tank, and that enables you then to drain that fresh water tank off. Again, important that you do that for winter storage. Room heating system on for the gas operation. Turn the left hand dial all the way round to the maximum position, number 5. All right, and then push down on the knob whilst striking the igniter. If you've got it in the right position, when it ignites, you should be able to see the flame in the flame chamber like so, indicating that you've got a purchase on the gas. Let your finger off the knob just slightly. All right, and that should then be a controllable gas supply. You'll start to get heat being radiated out of the front of the fire. On the top right hand side, you've got a dial control, and what this dial control does is it turns on a circulation fan behind the fire, and it will start to blow the airflow around the inside of the van. If you turn the lower part of the ring clockwise, then you'll move it towards an M symbol, and you can manually control the speed of the fan on the upper part of the dial. Off in the middle, automatic in the opposite direction, and the thermostat will work in conjunction with the gas heat or the electric room heater side of it, and it will cause the fan to cut in and cut out. Warm weather, you can leave the gas fire switched off altogether, turn it back to the 0 position, and the gas supply will cut out, and you can just use the fan on its own in the manual mode. It's not air conditioning, but what it will do is enable you to recirculate the airflow around the inside of the van. Alternatively to using the gas, there's an electric element. Similar to the water heater on electric, there's an amber switch underneath the bed box, so as long as that one's turned on, you should then be able to turn the switch to a 500, a 1000, or anti-clockwise to a 2000 watt position, to increase the amount of electrical heat output there is out of the front of the fire. And again, using that on electric, you can use the circulation fan then to recirculate that heat around the inside of the van. The fridge is located underneath the kitchen unit. To turn the fridge on and off, press the on-off switch on the left-hand side. Press and hold in for a couple of seconds, and you should see all the characters light up. You can choose whether you operate the fridge on mains, on gas. The battery operation, that only comes into play when the vehicle engine is running and it's taking a direct feed from the alternator. All the 12 volt feed will do is keep the fridge cold, assuming that you've chilled the fridge in advance. If you're wild camping, you would use it on the gas. If you're connected to the main supply, you would use it on the electric. On mains or on gas, you need to make sure the vehicle is as near level as possible. So use leveling wedges and a spirit level inside the van to check to make sure the van is in the optimum position. Otherwise, the fridge will not chill effectively. You can adjust the cooling of the fridge by pressing the thermostat button up and down. If you choose an option which doesn't exist, so for example, if you're connected to the main supply and there's no mains available, or if you're trying to use the gas and you've run out of gas, then as I'm going to demonstrate here with the battery operation, you will get a fault symbol come up, all right, indicating that there's a problem with the supply that you're trying to use, and you need to restore or rectify that situation before you can continue using the fridge. So we're back onto the gas operation in that format. And mains is low there. To turn the fridge off, press and hold in on the button for a couple of seconds, and the whole panel will go dark. To operate the microwave, you'll need to take the cable down from the side of the microwave, connect it to the appropriate socket, and then your microwave controls are up at the front. Choose your minute or second intervals at the top, and then press start to get this process going. Ceiling in the van above the kitchen, you've got an extractor fan. Turn the switch on in the middle, and then increase the speed of the fan to draw the airflow out. Slow it down or reduce it to stop, and then you can also then draw the airflow in. To improve the circulation, you have got a dial which you can open, and that opens up the main lid and allows overstay and improved performance of airflow. Make sure, however, that your roof light is fully shut prior to departure. On the subject of roof lights, you've also got a Hecky roof light in the back. Pushing on the flap, and then you can draw the handle forward and lock it into various positions of opening. Again, make sure that the lever is secured behind the catch before you shut. Fly screens and or blinds available in either direction within the frame in the roof light. Your toilet cassette operation and toilet operation. Lift up the seat, open up the lever on the left hand side, and that opens up a wastegate into the base of the cassette, and then after use press down on the blue button and that will give you a flush water cycle around the inside of the bowl. Make sure that the lever is fully pushed back into its off position. An indicator light will come on here telling you when the cassette needs to be emptied. Above the toilet you have a tip-up sink, so you have your cold and hot water supplies coming through, and a similar operation for the shower, which has a trigger on the back of it as well, and then above that your vanity unit. Make sure you press in on the various clips to make sure that that can fully open. Last but by no means least, your bathroom light up to the top, like so. The rear bed operation. Lift up the back seat, pull forward these slats, discard the centre U cushion, and then bring the backrests into the middle of the van, like so. I suggest that you flip over the base cushions so that you sleep on the backs. When you've turned all of the cushions over, you'll be left with a gap in the middle, and there's a long two-halved sausage cushion which goes into the middle, which then just gives you then the full width mattress. The television aerial is located in the wardrobe. At the back of the wardrobe, on top of the unit, above the V, you have your on switch for turning on the amplifier. Unscrew the rose at the top so that it becomes slack and push up firmly on the shaft. When you can see this vertical oblong, then that indicates that that's the back of the aerial, which means the signal receiver is pointing in the opposing direction. So turn that one in the direction of your transmitter, and you should be able to get a good signal through to your television. Lock it off accordingly. For travelling, undo the rose again, pull the aerial back down into the body of the van. I recommend having this section here facing the forward part of the van. Lock the aerial back off and turn your receiver off in the back. In the front of the cab, as we've already mentioned, I left the cover off for the gas water heater. Before you set off down the road, make sure that cover gets attached back onto the water heater, stop any muck or debris from being drawn back into the exhaust. Over on the right hand side you have your electric window and electric mirror controls. You have your headlamp weight adjustment, so if you've got extra load in the back you can bring the headlamp down or increase accordingly. The stalk over on the right hand side is for your wiper controls. The top stalk on the left hand side is your indicator and lights, and then below that you have your cruise control. On the steering wheel, all of the controls tie in to the head unit, factory fitted unit, for volume and adjustments. Central dial for the operation of the stereo. Pressing on that one and that will turn it on. For copyright reasons, if we play any music, it affects us being able to upload it onto YouTube. Below that you have your ventilation controls, the lower one controlling the speed of the fan, the upper one controlling the temperature, and then on the right hand side your external and internal recirculation, and then the direction that you want to move the airflow around inside the vehicle. Switch over on the left hand side turns on your heated wing mirrors. There's no heated rear window because it's a plastic window. Rear fog lights has the light switch. you can unlock the cab and lock the cab from that internal switch. Lockable glove box in the centre using the ignition key. There's a smaller glove box in front of the passenger, and then behind the airbag there's a third glove box with the air conditioning on. It also discharges cold air into this section, so you can use it as a kind of fridge. Hope you're going to enjoy your new van. If you've got any questions, obviously then come back to us. Otherwise, have a lot of fun with it and enjoy.